It was the moment for the main event, Animal Mask against Macadamian Ogre, also known as MAO, a contest for the World Championship title. Genzo was getting ready for the bout in his room. His manager, Big Saigo, entered, but Genzo requested that he not disturb him. Big Saigo still inquired about what he would do upon reaching this pinnacle of being the champion, and speculated that he might transition to other combat sports, but left before hearing Genzo's response. Genzo continued his soliloquy, stating that his second chapter would involve him living with the animals he cherishes and opening a pet shop, then proceeded toward the ring. In the ring, he began to battle MAO, and eventually climbed onto the top rope. As he leaped alongside his pet Hiroyuki, he vanished and was transported to another time and place. There, he pondered whether this was a scheme devised by Big Saigo, but encountered Princess Altena Lattice Edgardo, who referred to him as Hero, and requested his assistance in defeating the wicked beasts and the Demon King. Upon hearing this, he positioned himself behind her, seized her, and executed a suplex, rendering her unconscious. The guards turned against him, leading him to realize he might have overstepped, and he draped his cape over the princess, which only infuriated the guards further, compelling him to flee from them. As he walked through the town, he intended to inquire about his location, but the people were fleeing from him. He deduced that this must be because he was wearing a mask and took it off, believing they would no longer perceive him as someone unusual. But with his nudity revealed, the crowd quickly began to label him a pervert. Misha and Wolfgang von Kraftmann approached him, believing they could sell the unusual creature Hiroyuki. When Genzo spotted Misha, he felt thrilled that she possessed animal ears. But upon seeing Wolfgang, he became even more exhilarated. Noticing his frighteningly excited expression, they attempted to leave, but Genzo lunged at Wolfgang, rubbing his face against his chest and smelling it. They were unable to detach him from Wolfgang, and as he continued to rub and scratch his chest, it felt so pleasurable that he was overcome. Genzo then turned his attention to Misha, but at that moment, he heard a girl weeping and unwilling to be sold. When he looked, he noticed she had wolf ears and felt very excited. He confronted Edgar, the man about to sell Shigure, while Misha cautioned him that Genzo was a threat. In the next instant, Genzo rushed forward and executed a suplex on Edgar. Misha and Wolfgang assisted him in getting back up and began to leave. As he saw her depart, Genzo realized he hadn't petted Misha and headed her way. But when Shigure expressed her gratitude, he halted and approached her. He believed she was going to be sold as a slave, but Shigure clarified that it was due to her borrowing money from him and not repaying it, and she urged him to sell her if she failed to return the money, then pleaded for days and cried until Edgar consented. She wanted to launch a business, but encountered failure. Since she was penniless and unable to repay him, Shigure took Genzo to a hunter guild so they could earn some money. As he met the guild master, Genzo was sharing how much he adored animals. The master pondered what actions to take, but then received word of Cerberus attacking, and upon hearing that, Genzo became thrilled and rushed to see them. Upon reaching the Cerberuses, Genzo spotted their 3 heads and felt joyous, since that meant 3 times the excitement. He then charged at them, and as he identified the leader, he went and subdued him. He began to play with them and succeeded in taming them. Back at the guild, they received a substantial reward for the Cerberus situation. There, Genzo told Shigure that he had made a decision and wanted to help people comprehend how wonderful demon beasts are and that they can communicate with one another. Yet, he was oblivious to the complaints surrounding him about the creatures and the injuries and casualties they had recently endured. He informed Shigure that he intended to open a pet shop, but was surprised to find that she didn't know what that was. Genzo clarified that he would nurture the demon beasts and train them so that they could coexist with humans. Although Shigure was somewhat doubtful, she became intrigued upon hearing that he would undertake quests to capture beasts, collect the rewards, and then subsequently train and sell them for profit, effectively doubling his money, prompting her to offer support for the pet shop. Genzo pondered what quest to pursue and noticed a book containing information on beasts. A fellow guild member explained the book's purpose and referred to Genzo as the Demon Beast Killer, a nickname given because of the 5 Cerberuses he had defeated. Angered, Genzo punched him, asserting that he was an animal wrestler, not a beast killer. With a need for quick funds to open the pet shop, they decided to take on the highest rewarding quest to defeat a salamander. Overhearing, Heat Haze, the strongest man in the guild, proposed joining him and his party to split the reward for slaying the salamander. In response, Genzo seized him and slammed him against the wall, warning him never to say something foolish again. Before they left, Shigure noticed Heat Haze's sword lying on the ground and pretended as if it had been forgotten, claiming it as hers. Genzo and Shigure set out to confront the salamander, and he quickly befriended it, naming it Yoshiko. He returned to the guild to collect his reward, where the desk attendant remarked that it was not without reason that he was called the Demon Beast Killer. Genzo promptly punched him, insisting that he refrain from using that title. Misha expressed a desire to venture out and cause some trouble, but Wolfgang, recalling his experience with Genzo, decided it would be wiser for them to remain indoors. At that moment, Genzo and Shigure arrived, startling Wolfgang. Shigure wished to meet Edgar, but since he was unavailable, she left her monthly payment owed to him with Misha. Hanako was perusing a magazine that showcased various desserts. She was then summoned for dinner and was annoyed to find that the meal again consisted of goblin, troll, and orc meat, as she craved something more delicious to eat. Genzo and Shigure's subsequent mission involved some soldier monkeys. Upon encountering them, Genzo retrieved apples from his bag and offered them to the monkeys. Appreciating the treat, they quickly befriended him. Since he had already collected many demon beasts, he started to worry about someone potentially stealing them and realized they needed a secure location. They set out to undertake a new quest, with the one boasting the highest reward focused on orcs. Although Genzo felt indifferent upon seeing them due to their human-like appearance, he consented to take the job because of the lucrative payment. As they approached the orc settlement, he resolved to confront them by himself. Upon entering their village, he challenged the orc king and initiated the fight with a dropkick. They continued to battle, and Genzo ultimately overcame him after executing a German suplex, prompting the other orcs to proclaim him the new king. The next day, he departed, leaving the orc king to rule in his absence. Upon returning, he had earned enough money to purchase a place, but went to seek a loan from the government, only to be taken aback when they informed him that he needed to have 20% of the amount. Meanwhile, Hanako had escaped from her castle and was now staring longingly at a candy shop window. Genzo and Shigure now possessed a house. However, it was cluttered with cases and animals. She lamented that they lacked sufficient space, but Genzo reassured her that it was the sacrifice they had to endure until the animals were sold. Since feeding all the animals was costly, she decided to sell some swords and check the quest board for lucrative jobs. Genzo was mending the roof when a neighbor came by to visit him. Noticing she resembled a wolf dog woman, he became enthusiastic and started flirting with her, which made her happy yet uneasy, prompting her to leave. He then heard Hiroyuki barking, and upon investigation, he discovered a girl named Hanako with horns who had fainted in the bushes. Hearing her stomach growl, he decided to bring her inside. When she regained consciousness, she was puzzled about her location, and Genzo offered her some fish. She was astonished that he was unafraid of her horns, introduced herself, and indicated that she was half-dragon. As she began to eat, she reached for Hiroyuki, but Genzo informed her that he was not the food, rather the fish was. She devoured the fish in no time, then eyed all the animals, prompting Genzo to explain that he was attempting to establish a pet shop, which she mistakenly thought was a restaurant since the salamander appeared quite appetizing to her. He subsequently described what a pet shop entailed, and she inquired about what type of demon beast Hiroyuki was. Genzo replied that he was a mongrel, and Hanako asked if she could have him. She expressed that she would adore him and feed him, and when he grew larger, she would eat him, causing Genzo to swiftly retrieve Hiroyuki back. Genzo then opened the book on beasts and asked her to read about half-dragons, as he still could not comprehend that language. Noticing that he was on the dragon page, she promptly closed the book and exited, stating she had other matters to attend to. Shigure then returned and detected the scent of a dragon. She reprimanded Genzo for apparently bringing a dragon into their home, despite their financial struggles. But he clarified that a half-dragon had visited, and he simply prepared some food for her. As she had updates regarding a new high-paying quest, they proceeded to see the guildmaster. He informed them about a suspicious individual attacking people at night. But Genzo showed little interest until another guild member mentioned it was done by a demon beast, which piqued his curiosity immediately. The man then displayed his neck, revealing a bite mark, and asserting that he was certain it was a dragon. Heat Haze then barged in, having overheard the conversation about the dragon, declaring that he would join them as he had always aspired to earn the title of Dragon Slayer. Genzo quickly delivered a dropkick that caused him to drop his sword, which Shigure again claimed. Genzo and Shigure went to explore the site of the attack, and Shigure detected the same dragon scent she recognized from home. Genzo then returned, took his animal mask, and headed into town with a cage and pet food to capture her. Once he set the trap, she became ensnared in it. He intended to ask her a question, but at that instant, villagers spotted them and dubbed him a pervert since he was naked and had a loli in a cage. He began running with Hanako alongside him. As they fled, she detailed how she merely bent the bars and escaped, joining him because he mentioned wanting to ask something. At that moment, Carmilla Vanstein arrived, demanding he stay away from Hanako. However, while she continued speaking, Genzo and Hanako began throwing stones at her. She then leaped forward to assault Genzo, But as they tested their strength against each other, she was astonished by his power and ultimately lost to him. But as the villagers approached, they made their exit. Genzo concluded that Hanako should wear a mask to avoid looking suspicious, transforming them into a normal masked couple and providing them with fake names. Soon after, they ran into Shigure, who quickly identified Genzo, but he and Hanako acted as if they were someone else. When another guild member arrived, she swiftly took Genzo and Hanako home to prevent others from spotting them. Upon arriving at their house, he removed his mask, and Hanako was shocked to discover it was Genzo. He clarified that while donning the mask, he becomes a different person, Animal Mask. He then had inquiries for Hanako, and she decided to divulge everything, beginning to state her true name. As she was speaking, Shigure hurriedly interrupted her, claiming that she needed to clean her room. But Genzo insisted she must listen as it was crucial. Hanako disclosed that she belonged to the Fafnir family, one of the 4 serving the Demon King. At that moment, Carmilla appeared, questioning the whereabouts of the masked individual who had defeated her. But Hanako clarified that they had no involvement in this matter and that she would be returning to the castle. Carmilla elaborated that she needed to eliminate the humans because the information regarding the Fafnir family was top secret. Shigure then promptly handed Genzo holy water and instructed him to use it against Carmilla. When he splashed it onto her face, she collapsed to the ground. Shigure subsequently provided Genzo with garlic to place in Carmilla's mouth, but Hanako interrupted them, pleading for forgiveness for Carmilla and explaining that she was her servant who had merely been trying to return her home. Genzo inquired of Hanako why she was running. As she began to clarify, she ultimately disclosed that it was primarily due to her desire for more delicious food. She then informed Genzo of her decision to assist with the pet shop so she could remain close to Hiroyuki. Shigure informed her that they had not yet begun and therefore could not afford to employ anyone. But Hanako clarified that she did not require payment. Since they could not utilize her real name, she was pleased for them to continue referring to her as Hanako. Genzo then questioned her if she was the one attacking people. However, Hanako clarified that she had no interest in consuming humans. Upon hearing this, Carmilla declared herself as the one who had been attacking them, as she grew excited during her search for Hanako. At that moment, Genzo approached her from behind and executed a German suplex, rendering her unconscious. Princess Altena was strolling through her castle while soldiers were chuckling behind her, referring to her as Princess Buttocks because of the incident with the hero, and she felt quite embarrassed. She received word that they were still unable to find the hero. Shigure was organizing boxes filled with roses, feeling like she was the only one doing any work. While Carmilla was napping, Hanako was eating, and Genzo was spending money on lavish food for the animals. Shigure decided to grab a drink at the guild bar and complained that Genzo was bringing in more mouths to feed. As she was making her way home, she spotted Genzo feeding a cat and asking it to stay and live with him forever. The Miss Kobold appeared, and Genzo was all over her, expressing his desire to rub his face on her belly. She informed him that she was married, but Genzo insisted he wanted to do the same to her husband as well, prompting the Miss Kobold to leave in embarrassment. Shigure was then approached by Carmilla for some money to hire an artist to draw Hanako, but Shigure refused. Afterwards, Genzo requested some cash to buy items and food for the new cat, but Shigure simply tossed the cat aside. Claus then arrived, as it was the deadline, and inquired if they had the payment for the loan they had discussed. However, Genzo informed him that he had forgotten, and they did not have any money. Since no one wanted to work, Claus announced that, in that case, the loan was off. Upon hearing this, Genzo got excited and urged everyone to start working. They all began to work as hard as they could, but eventually, all except Shigure failed, resulting in them having less money than before. Shigure conversed with the guild master, who suggested that they undertake the Griffin quest. Shigure presented the quest to Genzo, and he immediately agreed to it. Heat Haze then overheard them, stating they were pursuing the same quest. He then displayed his new holy sword, proclaiming that he would slay the Griffin, and in that moment, Genzo knocked him out while Shigure pretended to find another forgotten sword. Initially, Carmilla was reluctant to join the quest, but when Hanako expressed her enthusiasm to go, and realizing she would be left behind, she quickly changed her mind and decided to accompany them. While pursuing the Griffin, Genzo discovered that they give birth to 2 chicks and force them to fight, keeping only the victor. Shortly thereafter, they encountered 2 griffins and witnessed the battle between the 2 chicks. When one of the chicks was defeated, Genzo hurriedly took the losing one, stating that if it was unwanted, he would take it. The 2 adult griffins then began to chase after them. Carmilla attempted to fight, but was swiftly overpowered. Yet Genzo prioritized the baby griffin over Carmilla, since she lacked a tail, animal ears, or the responsibility of paying rent. As the griffins closed in on them, Genzo and Hanako continued to hold their ground, while Shigure escaped with the baby griffin. Spotting an opportunity, Genzo leaped onto the griffin and began to rub its head, but was soon thrown against a rock and rendered unconscious. Hanako then lost control over her urges as she craved griffin meat and went to take a bite, but after finding it unsatisfying, she seized Carmilla and Genzo and fled. At their home, Hanako returned, and Jig took Carmilla to bury her, explaining that she would revive more quickly in impure soil. Before long, the baby griffin Kyoko grew larger, much to Genzo's delight, while Shigure expressed concern about the increased food expenses. Shigure went to voice her complaints again at the bar, but found herself in high spirits after successfully selling the legendary weapons she had obtained from Heat Haze for a substantial amount.